Hey everybody out there on YouTube, it's Jake Mace, your neighborhood-friendly vegan athlete here in the Phoenix area. I'm so excited to be bringing you guys this video today because I have a very special tree to plant with you guys today. It's a fruit that I love, probably my top 3 fruits on the planet. I love mamey sapotes, I love soursop and loquat, and I also love this one today, which is called the Jaboticaba, or Jabuticaba, or the Jaboticaba. Whatever you call it, to me it sounds like a Star Wars character, like, bring out the Jaboticaba. In reality, it's a delicious fruit that's also called the Brazilian grape. And it does look like a grape when it fruits. It's a dark purple color, and texture-wise, it also has a texture of a grape. It has a tough kind of skin with a delicious flesh on the inside, and I've eaten these many times in the past, and they are delicious. I'm also not stupid, I'm not an idiot. I don't want to plant things in my Phoenix garden that don't make it in the Phoenix area. And so I always seek out other gardeners who are far more skillful and experienced than I am and try to use their experience for my gain. And so last year about this time, Seamus O'Leary and I went over to Dr. Al's house in Mesa, Arizona, and he has an incredible garden that's so inspirational, and he had a full mature Jaboticaba growing in his yard in Mesa. And he had planted it right up against the house, nice and tight, so that as the tree grew above the house, it used the house for protection from the wind, from the monsoon, and from the intense summer heat in Phoenix, because I have a small Jaboticaba already growing in my yard on this side of the yard. And I found that the cold is not as much of an issue in Phoenix as the heat. It can take the Phoenix winters, but the 120 degrees of the Phoenix summer tends to hurt this guy. So you definitely want to plant Jaboticaba in an area of your yard that gets morning sun, afternoon shade. Now, what does that mean? Morning sun, afternoon shade means that in the summertime, when the sun rises in the east, once it hits about 10:30 in the morning, that's when that tree should begin getting some shade. It does not mean that once it's 4 p.m., get it shade, because by that time your tree's already dead. You have dextered, you have serial murdered your tree already, okay? So make sure that morning sun means from 5 a.m. until about 10:30 a.m. in the morning, and then afternoon shade is from about 10:30 on. And hopefully also plant it in an area where as the sun drops lower in the horizon in the winter time, because the sun drops into the southern part of the sky in the winter time, that the tree will also see a lot of sun in the winter, because you want them to stay warm in the winter. So with these things in mind, pick a location for your Jaboticaba that will give it afternoon shade and give it more sun exposure as the sun moves into the south during the winter time. Okay, but today we're gonna plant it with perfect soil, in a perfect location with companion trees to help out. Like this one. This is my ironwood tree that I planted 4 years ago. He was this big in a 1-gallon pot, and I got this guy from the Desert Botanical Gardens plant sale they do twice a year, from this size to this size in 4 years. And the ironwood is one of my favorite trees. It's truly a Phoenix native, because if you touch this guy, he likes to kiss you, and he'll hold onto your hair and hold onto your head. He's already, oh, he's got me. So he does like to give you a little bit of a love tap, or like Facebook used to have the pokes. He used to give you a little poke as you come in my yard. But this guy's gonna help out the Jaboticaba by giving him afternoon shade. So I'm gonna combine parent trees, like this ironwood, to help with afternoon shade. I'm gonna also combine a 30% shade cloth over the Jaboticaba when we get to about April. When the temperatures get into the 90s, I'm going to shade this guy with a 30% shade cloth for the first summer and let him get established, because the goal with a new tree in the ground for you guys who are planting new trees is to protect them and care for them, especially in their first year. When you put them in the ground for the first time, they're infants. They're like 3-year-olds. You can't just kick a 3-year-old out of the house. You kick the 18-year-old out of the house, right? So the 3-year-old needs nurturing. The 18-year-old needs to go fend for themselves and learn about the earth, all right? So here's what the tree looks like. It's from Seamus O'Leary's Tropical Fruit Trees. And I was over there yesterday, and I had already been eyeing these Jaboticabas, because I knew I wanted to have a second one. And this one is in a 15-gallon pot. I mean, look at it. It looks so healthy. It looks so perfect that I always say, I almost feel guilty taking the trees from Seamus O'Leary's, because he does a good job taking care of them. They get foliar fed with the nutritionalized, mineralized micronutrient spray that he puts on them. They get a lot of good food. They don't just get water and good soil, they get fed regularly with plant food. And we're gonna try to do the same thing. We're gonna try to put a lot of organic, biodynamic plant food in the form of azomite rock dust minerals, seaweed, kelp, compost, and lots of mulch. We're also gonna use mycorrhiza when we plant this guy right now together. So, we got the tree here, the Brazilian grape Jabuticaba, or Jaboticaba, from Seamus O'Leary's Tropical Fruit Trees in Glendale. If you guys want to get one of these, he's got more, and they're equally as good looking as this one. He's also got them in bigger pots. So if you guys have a little bit of this, and you got a bigger plant budget, go get one of the big ones, because the bigger the tree is you buy in the pot, the more likelihood of it surviving will be. And so if you start with a little 1 gallon plant, it's gonna take a lot of skills. You're gonna have to really be on it and implement your gardener's shadow, which means keep your shadow on that tree and care for it. When it's in a bigger pot and it's already been a few years old, it's gonna be a higher percentage of success, okay? Before we start digging the hole and planting this tree, 2 things are very important to do. Research, right? Do your due diligence. Just like when you buy a home. Real estate agents love using the word due diligence because it makes them sound smart. Okay, they love that word. Number 1 is this microclimate appropriate for this tree? Today is Monday, January 18th, and it's 1:55 p.m. and the sun is already on this guy, which is good. It means that in the wintertime, the sun will still warm this tree when it drops low in the horizon in the winter. That's good. Good microclimate, number 1. Number 2, are there companion trees around this Jaboticaba that will help shade him from the intense summer heat of Phoenix? Well, number 1 is the ironwood tree. Number 2 is over here, this Australian bookshelf leaf tree, which is in the eucalyptus family. And this tree is one of my most important pollinizer attractor trees in my yard. You can use the leaves in like a steam room. You can also plant this guy if you want to encourage the bees to come into your yard. Okay, and this guy's also gonna get about twice this size this spring and summer. And that will be a huge canopy to diffuse the summer sun to help break it up to protect this Jaboticaba. This tree over here as well. I planted them last year. He's gonna be gigantic and he'll be twice this size. So between the ironwood, the Australian bookshelf leaf tree, and this tree, they're gonna all converge together toward the top here and hopefully create a tall canopy which will help to give a parental protection to this lower canopy and bush-like shape of the Jaboticaba, all right? Now, microclimate is solved. Now, number 2 is the soil. What kind of soil should I use to plant this guy? Well, I have a device here that in the 1970s would have made me a freak of nature alien. It's called a smartphone, all right? And Seamus and I oftentimes joke together that so many people ask questions about gardening that they easily could have looked up on their phones before they asked them. And it's true. So what I did is I went to the internet and I searched in Google for soil when planting a Jaboticaba. And I got the CaliforniaRareFruitGrowers.org page, so the crfg.org. I belong to and I go to the meetings of the Arizona Rare Fruit Growers, and they're a sister group of the California Rare Fruit Growers, and so I know these guys are legitimate. And it tells you some information about Jaboticaba or Jabuticaba. It's also called a Guaperu or a Guaperu or a Hiva Peru or a Sabara. Okay, there's lots of different names. And if you scroll down, it'll tell you about its growth habit and its foliage and its flowers and its fruits. Then it will say location. Jaboticabas will take full sun or some shade and are small enough to fit into many parts of the garden landscape. They are fairly wind tolerant, but do not like salty sea air. Small young trees do best with some protection. Now when they say takes full sun, they're not talking about Phoenix sun, they're talking about California sun. Phoenix sun is a little more intense, so give them some protection from the sun. Now, go down, next is soil. It says Jaboticabas grow and fruit best in rich, deep soil with a pH of 5.5 to 6.5. Although it is not well adapted to alkaline soils, it may be grown successfully by mulching and applying necessary nutrient sprays containing iron. The tree is not tolerant of salty or poorly drained soil. It has grown and borne well on sand in Central Florida. All right, so our soil in the Phoenix area, the native soil, is alkaline. It's very salty. It also says to mulch, okay? Very important. We're gonna dig a big hole for this tree. We're gonna give it the special Seamus O'Leary soil that has a lot of lava sand, and that way we're creating a well-draining soil that will allow this guy to drain the water away from his root system so he won't rot under the ground. Then I'm gonna pile up so much mulch on this guy, it's gonna be like a mulch party. We're gonna put leaves and wood chips and pine needles, because pine needles will help to balance out the alkaline Phoenix soils by making them a little more acidic. We're gonna add in every kind of organic matter we can, and we're gonna start with these bags. They're full of leaves, all right? So without further ado, I've done my research, my due diligence, I've done my microclimate assessment. It's time to dig our hole. Let's get to it. As I'm digging this hole, you can see how I dig it out and then I make the berm as I'm digging the hole, and you can see how, look at my soil inside here. My 4.5 years of using wood chips in my property is starting to pay off, because look at how nice my soil is underneath there. It's half black, half really nice living clay. It doesn't look all light brown and dead and rocky. It's all super alive. I can just sense it. I can use my sixth sense and I can sense the living nature of my soil. It's so nice. Makes me feel good in my soul. So definitely use wood chips and leaves and mulch, because it'll bring life back to your soil, and the life is all the bugs. The roly-polies, the earwigs, the grubs, the ants, even things like termites and stuff. Every kind of bug is all good for the soil. And then the bugs that you can't see, the microbes, they're all activated by water, mulch, decomposing forest products. And that's what I got going on right now. So as I'm digging this hole, I'm seeing the positive results of good gardening. So here's a lot of the soil that I've dug out. And look at all the life in here, the big life. This is the big life, not the small life, but the worms and the grubs. You might think grubs are bad or good, but I say any bug in the ground is good. That means that they're in a hospitable climate, and they'll help to aerate that soil. They'll help to bring drainage to it. They'll help to bring nutrients to it. When they poop and birth themselves, they'll leave all those droppings in there, and I'm gonna leave those guys in the soil. So, nice size hole here. And the hole is definitely larger by at least double than the pot we got over there. I've also taken my shovel and I've like hit the sides and chunked out little gaps in the sides. So now the water can find little areas and help to mark a path for the roots to go into the earth. The other thing I have is I have a irrigation bubbler already set up here, so I can turn the water on or off right here at the source. I don't need to use a hose. I can put it on a timer and I can go to vacation and come back and my tree is still being watered. So I'm gonna do a few things first before I put the soil in this hole to make sure that we have a successful growing Jaboticaba tree. Number one, I got the beneficial fungus called the mycorrhiza, or mycorrhizae. Everyone pronounces it differently. Mycorrhiza is what I say. It looks like this. You can get it from Seamus O'Leary if you're in town for $5 a bag, or you can order it off of jakemace.com. And this is going to help bring a colony of microbes into this hole. So I'm gonna sprinkle some, like about a tablespoon, with just like 2 small pinches into the bottom of the hole. Then I'm gonna put about 2 more pinches on the root ball when I put them from the pot into the hole. And if you guys click on the screen right now, right here, you can access a video that Seamus O'Leary and I did together where he talked about the importance of just 1 tablespoon of mycorrhiza when planting new trees. It'll greatly increase your root growth and tree health. Next, what I've got in this bag is the Seamus soil. And I got this also from Seamus O'Leary's, and he gets it made specially for the trees he sells, which is why it's good. He believes in it, he uses it, and it's very good stuff. It's got lava sand. It's called basalt. It's also got 2 different sizes of composted wood chips, which have been composted. And this is important because the lava sand is super important for allowing drainage while at the same time holding moisture. It does both at the same time. It allows the microbes to grab onto it because it's not smooth like normal sand. Plus, when I put this in the bottom of my hole, it's gonna help with the drainage that this tree so desperately needs. We don't want to create a bog or a soup down there. We want the moisture to drain very nicely away from the root system and not rot the roots. But at the same time, we want to keep the roots wet. I know it sounds weird. Keep the roots wet, but don't make them a soup. Create drainage, but also provide mulch so that a consistent moisture level is retained in the hole. So we're gonna put about this much of the Seamus soil at the bottom. Just like that. Then I've got this container full of different kinds of compost. This is compost that I've dug up from different parts of my yard that has been cooking for a couple years now. Look at, there's ants in there, roly-polies, worms. I know there's microorganisms, I just can't see them because I'm not a microscope. And this is a living soil that I've been cooking in my ground. I've also combined with this living soil compost from my compost tumblers. I've also combined some compost from Western Organics into this soil. That's here in Phoenix, a compost company. It's really good to go get compost from. I've also combined to this compost some of the Jay Behringer mix called the Orchard Mix. You guys can also pick that up from Jay if you guys contact him on Facebook at his Phoenix Fruit Growers Facebook page. He also sells his bags of soil at Seamus O'Leary. So I've got some of Jay's special locally made compost in there with my compost from the ground, with my compost from the tumblers, with some of the compost from Western Organics. And so this stuff is really amazing stuff. Look at that, it's just really awesome. I'm just proud of it. My family and friends think I'm a psychopath. I'm like, look at my dirt. And they're like, you have officially crossed the line into full hippie. I don't care though. I crossed that line years ago. All right, so we're gonna put all this good soil in the bottom of the hole as well. And just about that much. Now I'm gonna take my shovel and I'm gonna add in some of the soil that I dug out of the hole. So this is the soil I brought out of the hole and put some native stuff back in there, about that much. Then I'm gonna just mix it around and make a little bit of a soup, a stew, full of different nutrients. And don't forget that mycorrhiza is also in there. And that's gonna be a really nice Sealy Posturepedic mattress for this Jabuticaba to sit and rest on and rest his weary head each night. Next, I've got a pink cup of goodness full of the micronized azomite rock dust minerals. And you can get them in big bags, but we sell them at jakemace.com in $5 or $10 bags. You can get a little smaller amount to start with and try it. And this is gonna give food to the microbes and allow them to have something to eat, mineral content of over 70 different minerals and trace elements from the Azomite company, which means A to Z of minerals, including trace elements. And that's a secret that I use to jumpstart my trees and garden that I learned from John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. So I add in the azomite during the process, and when I water it, that will all just absorb into the soil. All right, it is time. It is time for me to throw my back out, putting this tree into this hole. Okay, usually 15 gallon is pretty good for one person. You get to like 25 gallon to 65 gallon, you need to have a partner to help you out. So we're gonna put the tree in the hole, and I think I can kind of eyeball it. I think that the tree's height of its root system is about appropriate for the depth of the hole that I just dug and prepared. All right, we're gonna try it, so here we go. I'm gonna also try to get this guy in the hole without knocking too much of his soil off the root system. So I have no friends today, sadly. Nobody wants to come over. So we're going to do this as a loner. I'm like Strider from Lord of the Rings, just a loner on the prairie. We're gonna pick this guy up, rest it on my knee. And I like to do it over the hole like this so that all the soil that falls off will go into the hole. And then I'm gonna pull this guy out and try to do it as carefully as possible. There we go. Now, the root ball stayed intact, which is good. I'm gonna shake off the soil that's in the pot into the hole. That pot, you will become Seamus's best friend if you bring the pots back to him, right? Let's help our local nurseries like Seamus do good business. So bring the big pots back to Seamus. He'll appreciate it. Then I'm gonna grab the tree by the base of the trunk and put him in the hole. Done. Now look at this, what I'm gonna do here. This is important for Phoenix area growers only. Phoenix is a desert, right? It's dry here, very dry. And so, I don't want this guy to be above the ground. I'm gonna set this guy below the ground. This is now my experience and my opinion that if you're in Phoenix, it's a good idea to set the crown of the tree a little bit below the ground. And that way you create kind of a bowl that goes down so that when it does rain here, and when you do water the tree here, all that moisture will stay in that bowl where it's needed by the roots of the tree. If I was in Hawaii, if I was in Kauai or Florida, somewhere more moist and wet and humid, I probably wouldn't do that. I probably would do it normal, keep the crown a bit above the ground. But I'm in Phoenix in the Sonoran Desert, it's dry here. And we go long periods with no water. So I have to try to keep my water bill down and do right by this tree and by the planet by doing things to help conserve every drop of water I can. Number one way to do it would be to plant a native tree like an ironwood. But if you want to try to plant subtropicals, this is the best way to at least give them a fighting chance. I'm gonna also stand back here and admire the tree and see if it looks the best in this spot. What do you think? I think it's pretty good. That looks pretty good to me. What do you guys think? Hit the like button for me right now of this video and add this video to your favorites and subscribe. I'm doing a lot of work here for you guys. Luckily, it's only 70 degrees today. It's not 115. People often ask me, Jake, why are you always sweating in your videos? I'm not always sweating in my videos, but I'm usually doing a lot of gardening in the summertime when it's 120 degrees Fahrenheit here. So now I can just simply backfill my really good soil mixture. It's gonna be a sandy, well-draining, nutrient-dense soil mixture. We're gonna add in the azomite rock minerals. We're gonna add in the mycorrhiza. And I'm gonna let you guys see it as we come toward the end. I like to treat it like a lasagna when I'm making the soil around the hole here. I just kind of layer a little bit by a little bit. You could also have a mixer and just mix it all beforehand, but I don't have that, so I just kind of layer a little bit of Seamus soil, a little bit of my soil, back and forth, back and forth. Lasagna. Okay, it's at this time of the backfilling process that I add more mycorrhiza. Remember I added this in the bottom of the hole? I'm gonna also now sprinkle it like pixie dust on the root ball, on the side of the root ball, all the way around the tree. Actually, before I was friends with Seamus O'Leary, I was his customer. I thought he was really doing well by having really nice looking trees in this place, and I wanted to support him, so I got a Jaboticaba from him as the first tree I ever bought from him. That was the 3-gallon Jaboticaba I bought. They're pretty slow growing trees, so I'd recommend you get a bigger one if you can afford it. And when the Jaboticaba fruits, it fruits its grapes on the trunk. So it looks like a fungus growing up the trunk. And so the fruit's not out here, it's deep within the trunk and it grows on the actual main stalks of the tree. It looks like a crazy dark purple fungus. It's really amazing. If you guys click on the video right here, you can watch me eat and pick the ripe fruits off of Dr. Al's amazing Jaboticaba tree in Mesa, Arizona from last year. All right, I got the soil looking very nice inside the hole, and I like doing this as a finishing touch. I like having my soil perfect. It looks nutrient dense, draining, well draining. full of azomite, mycorrhiza, compost, native soil, lava sand, composted mulch, all that stuff. But then I like putting some of the native soil as the final layer on top. For some reason, I just like doing this. And then on top of that native soil, I put my mulch. I just feel like the native soil helps to solidify the amended soil, and then the rainwater will permeate through that native soil into the good soil that's down below. And I just smooth it out like that. Before I show you guys how I mulch this guy, we're gonna go get one secret ingredient that's only found in my yard that nobody has. You guys don't have it. Join me on a little adventure. Come on over, I'll show you. We are here in the land of the giant Flemish rabbit, Chubbs. This is my buddy Chubbs. Hey Chubbs, say hi everybody. Hey everybody, my name's Chubbs. I am the nicest, coolest rabbit around. Chubbs is the fattest rabbit, and he's about 4 years old. And he's my buddy. He loves his ears pet like that. And Chubbs poops, a really nice rabbit poop. And he doesn't know that I use that from my garden. Right over here, he tends to go inside this little area, and I just scoop it out of here, put it in a pot, and then I'm gonna go use this with the mulch that I'm gonna put down as a slow release plant food that's gonna slowly break down into this tree's root system. And so if you guys have a rabbit like Chubbs, you guys can use his litter as well. Thanks Chubbs, thanks buddy. He also wants some food. He always wants food, always. Right Chubbs, you always want food. Look at your feet. Look at those mitts. You're awesome, buddy. I hope he lives forever. He's 4 years old. I bet you he lives to be 50. Go for it, Chubbs. Let's go finish this tree up together. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of the Chubbs pellets all around, and that's a nice organic, locally made, veganic way of fertilizing your plants, because I adopted Chubbs, you know. So these bags were left on my doorstep this morning by my neighbor, who's so nice to feed me the leaves. My neighbor even will, if it's not even his leaves, if he finds leaves around the neighborhood, he'll just gather them up for me and put them in my front yard so I can use them. So these are a bunch of ash leaves, locally sourced from my neighborhood. And we're gonna throw a bunch of these leaves down here all over the place. Leaves break down quick, you guys, so this looks like a lot of leaves, but in about 2 weeks this will be almost gone. Especially if it rains, and especially when it gets hot. And listen, this guy's like used to a very tropical climate. We gotta simulate that. I can't tell you how many times I follow Facebook. I try to post on Facebook a lot. You guys can join my urban gardening Facebook group, but when I follow other people on Facebook, everybody always posts pictures when they plant trees. They love to advertise and champion, hey, I planted a tree today, and it's always an edible tree, because I follow edible Facebook groups, and I can't tell you how many times the tree is in the middle of a bunch of rock, or in the middle of a bunch of a pool deck or concrete, with a little tiny little like this much mulch on top. I've got 3 feet of mulch here, like this much mulch, because these trees are not native. You've got to give them the mulch. You've got to. It'll keep their roots cool in the summer, warm in the winter. It'll give them a time-release food source. It'll allow their microclimate to be greatly benefited. And it's the only way you can get non-native trees to thrive to where they'll live beyond your lifetime in your home and give you delicious fruit at the same time. So there's some leaves. Now I'm gonna add in some wood chips. It's looking good, you guys. It's starting to look like a forest climate over here. I'm gonna combine these wood chips, which have pine needles, leaves, and wood chips all together. And these ones have been cooking in my yard for over a year already, so they're kind of composted. And there's a combination of leaves, wood chips, sticks, and pine needles. So answer me a question when you guys are watching right now in the comments. Do you guys use this much mulch on your trees? If you don't, You better start. I went over to the president of the Rare Fruit Growers of Phoenix's house the other day, Doug. He's got nearly 800 edible trees on his property. His property is amazing. And he has, you know, maybe 3 to 5 feet of wood chips and mulch on top of his yard. And he has flood irrigation, so if you dig down into his wood chips, it's like 100% pure worm castings, as black as night. Pretty cool. And this branch sadly fell off the Jaboticaba when I planted them, so I'll use that as mulch too. Put that on top right inside there. I am ready for this video to be done because I gotta go inside and edit this video for you guys. It took me all night. But we're going to water this guy last, and everybody always stresses out about water. So we're going to use a combination of pond water, which you don't have to use, but since I got it, I'm gonna use it. Throw the rest of that Chubb's fertilizer in there. Then I'm gonna put this 5-gallon bucket of pond water and then I have the bubbler right here, so check this out. I'm just going to, I already turned it on, so I'm gonna turn this guy lefty-loosey. Wash my hands off in there. And then I'm gonna let this water stay on like that for about 5 or 10 minutes until I'm satisfied that the entire hole has completely filled up with water. And then the measure of whether I planted them correctly or not will come when I see how quickly the water drains back down into the hole. So when I fill this guy up with water, it'll be a little bit of a pool. I'll shut the water off and then I'll watch like this, like I'll wait and watch. And within a matter of 20 or 30 seconds, I should see it all just disappear into the earth. And that means my soil is well draining. That's it, you guys, it's that simple. It's just like that. So quick, like nothing. Please follow me on Instagram at Jake Mace Tai Chi and hit the like button on this video. Help us get the word out there about gardening, growing food at home. I really believe in 2 things, or 3 things. Number 1 is go vegan. Number 2 is to grow your food at home, because as a people, we need to all be growing our food at home. We can't be relying on farms to do it and shipping it in. It's so inefficient, it's not sustainable. We gotta grow it at home. And number 3 is we've gotta provide our own electricity at home by tapping the unused resource of our roof. So make your roof look like my roof. Right there, solar panels on top. And I'm doing that with an $83 a month lease from Solar City. So check that out. If you guys can't afford the $10,000 to $30,000 initial payment, do it as a lease like I'm doing for 80 bucks a month. Thanks for watching. I'll give you guys updates as the months go on, as the spring begins to come, as the summer temperatures begin to come out. I'll give you guys an update video when I put the shade on top, because that'll be important. Not too much shade, but just enough shade. And I'll show you exactly how to shade the entire tree until he's established. Year 2 and 3 should be okay. And with the strength of Mother Earth behind me, I should be able to make this tree grow and thrive here in the desert. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on my Urban Gardening Facebook page, and grow your food at home, like I always say. Go vegan, because it's very important for the earth, for the animals, and for your health. And if you get a chance, try a Jaboticaba sometime. Click right here on the video to watch the video where I went and ate the Jaboticabas in Mesa off the full mature tree at Dr. Al's amazing garden. And I'll see you guys back here next time.